सर शरद सर 115 हो गया, स्टार्ट कर दीजिए ना.
Yes madam, we can start. Yes.
Once
I'm
again,
sharing the slide. I'm
Yes.
just sharing the slide.
good evening to all of you. Good evening. Today's topic is competency-based learning or competency-based education. So, it's implemented in primary section of KVS, though not in true spirit, because concept is not very clear to us. ना कि जब ये इम्प्लीमेंट हुआ हमारे पास ऐसा कोई गाइडलाइंस भी आया था क्लियर. So what is actually competency based education and what we need to do? जनरली हम क्या करते हैं कि उस पे क्वेश्चन पेपर बनाते हैं एंड बच्चों को उस पे ग्रेडिंग करते हैं एंड फिर उसको टोटल कर लेते हैं. तो द रियल पर्पस इज नॉट सर्व्ड. Again, it is not our fault because we have not been oriented or trained regarding what to be done in competency-based education. So thank you to all the members, especially Sharad sir, Pawan sir and Rashmi madam for giving me this opportunity to interact with you all. Sharad sir, अभी आप present कर दीजिए, तो slide show में दे दीजिए. Well, as I have quoted Kelly, one of the educationists in 2002 में दिया था, the competency-based education is the combination of knowledge, attitude and skills necessary to meet a certain kind of practice. तो NEP में बार बार ये जोर दिया जा रहा है कि knowledge NEP 2020 में कि knowledge, merely having knowledge is not going to help the present generation or the manpower we are going to build for the country. A skill is important as well as attitude. All these three factors are equally important. That is the reason competency-based education will be introduced in long term. Already introduced, as you know, in question paper 30% questions उसके basis पे देने के लिए बोला जा रहा है हर subject पे, right from class 3 onwards. So we should let us interact on this. Next, sir. Actually, just next slide, sir. जिस competency based education की बात हम कर रहे हैं, it emerged in United States in 1970, long back. और हम आज इतने सालों बाद we are talking about it over here. It was an educational movement to take the education system away from the conventional method. If this educational goal is precise and measurable, too many subject, too many learning areas, children are not loaded or books are not overloaded with too many learning areas or too many topics. Here they have a precise goals and measurable. As a competency ऐसे choose किया जाता है कि जैसा measure किया जाए. That is the reason those who are acquainted about the education system of Western countries, they know that instead of going for the content matter, बच्चे का कॉम्पिटेंस एक एक करके वो क्लियर करते बहुत ही कम. हम सोचते हैं यहाँ पे कि बुक्स में जितना ज्यादा सिलेबस हो उतना अच्छा नो. दे आर वेरी लेस सिलेबस एंड उनके क्रेडेंशियल्स भी अलग होते हैं. ग्रेजुअली दे क्लियर इट. सो इट केम एज अ मूवमेंट इन 1970 इन USA. नेक्स्ट स्लाइड सर. Competency-based education focuses on outcomes of learning. What you are learning, that is the outcome. जो आपने जितने साल के भी कोर्स करे, 2 साल हो, 4 साल हो, 10 साल के कोर्स हो, competency-based education is important in even in आपके जो प्रोफेशनल कोर्सेज होते हैं, वो फिजियोथेरेपिस्ट के हो, चाहे नर्सेस के हो, चाहे आप हर जगह कॉम्पिटेंसी देखा जाता है. फिक्स कॉम्पिटेंसी जो भी कोर्स आपके कोर्स हो, 4 years के हो, चाहे 10 years के हो, चाहे 12 years के हो, it is what actually ultimately what the child is learning, not the syllabus, not your teaching. That is not important, but the output the child is able to do. CBE addresses what the learners are expected to do rather than on what they're expected to learn about. इतने दिन तक हमारे एजुकेशन सिस्टम में हमारे सिलेबस, हमारे करिकुलम हमारे पास होते थे. करिकुलम कंप्लीट करना या सिलेबस कंप्लीट करना वाज आवर मोटिव. तो वहाँ बच्चे क्या लर्न कर रहे करते, दैट वाज सेकेंडरी. इन द कन्वेंशनल मेथड ऑफ एजुकेशन दैट इज सेकेंडरी. बट इन सीबीई ये देखा जाता है व्हाट द चाइल्ड एक्चुअली लर्न, what are expected to learn about it, किस बारे में वो पढ़ रहा है वो इम्पोर्टेंट नहीं है. उससे रिलेटेड कितना नॉलेज उन्होंने गेन किया जो डेली लाइफ में अप्लाई कर सकते हैं, दैट इज ऑल अबाउट कॉम्पिटेंसी विद एजुकेशन. दैट इज द रीजन यू हैव टू मेक देम कॉम्पिटेंट. नेक्स्ट स्लाइड सर. CBE or CBL, competence-based education as competence-based learning, consists of three interrelated ingredients. What are those three? A knowledge component, the understanding part. That means whatever you are dealing with, the child must understand. A behavior component, the overt behavioral repertoire. That means जो भी related, the behavior of a child, because education modifies behavior. Behavior of the learner is equally important. The value component, including values, belief and attitude. कुछ भी हम करवाते हैं, any topic we deal with, it always has a hidden value. It may be language, it may be science, it may be social science, it may be mathematics. Every subject has a hidden value. So all these three together need to be developed. Next slide, sir. A competent person is who is called competent. A person is performing a task will possess a combination of skills, knowledge, attitudes. Merely एक वो रोट लर्निंग पे एक बढ़िया वीडियो आता है, आपने देखा होगा कि मुझे नहीं पता. द फनी वीडियो दैट गर्ल रोट लर्निंग करके बचपन से, शी इज द टॉपर, शी गेट्स एंट्री इन द मीन्स उसको मेडिकल भी क्रैक कर लेती है, डॉक्टर भी बन जाती है, बट अल्टीमेटली गोइंग टू दैट मीन्स ऑपरेशन थिएटर में जब जाती है तो उसको ये याद नहीं आ रहा है कि हाउ टू हैंडल द पेशेंट एंड द पेशेंट डाइज. बहुत बढ़िया मजेदार वीडियो रोट लर्निंग पे. दैट इज व्हाट ओनली नॉलेज डज नॉट हेल्प. यू हैव दिस, यू मस्ट हैव द स्किल टू अप्लाई दैट नॉलेज एंड एटीट्यूड. किस लिए? सो दैट यू हैव द प्रॉब्लम सॉल्विंग एबिलिटी. महज नॉलेज एंड स्किल होने से हम सक्सेसफुल नहीं हो सकते इफ वी डोंट हैव दैट एटीट्यूड or behavior to handle the situations. So all things put together makes a person competent. Competence comes in everything, owing a goldsmith sitting and making golden ornament, उसमें भी competency चाहिए. Someone is managing a company needs competency, someone is a bureaucrat needs competency. So competency, these three together makes competency, skill, knowledge and attitude. A competence is defined as the holistic synthesis of this component. When all these three things are put together, then only a person becomes competent. Defining competence is very difficult, mostly when it is educational competency. कैसे किसी को हम education में competent बोल सकते हैं? So as next slide, sir. So as you all know, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, that OECD PISA conduct करते हैं, Program for International Student Assessment. इसको लेकर कई 3 साल तक सेकेंडरी टीचर्स बहुत व्यस्त रहे. वो तो पीसा हो नहीं पाया क्योंकि केबीएस को मौका मिला था रिप्रेजेंट करने के लिए इंडिया को इन दिस पीसा. इट इज कैंसल्ड बिकॉज ऑफ दिस पैंडेमिक सिचुएशन और कोविड आउटब्रेक. जो भी हो, नाउ यू आर ऑल अवेयर अबाउट पीसा, द प्रोग्राम फॉर इंटरनेशनल स्टूडेंट असेसमेंट. So OECD, that is Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, they did lot of research work through this PISA, that किस competency के basis पे बच्चों को assessment किया जाए internationally. So according to the PISA, I quoted a definition given by PISA regarding competency. A competency is more than just knowledge and skills. It involves any problem, Sharad sir? Hello? We can hear you, ma'am. But you don't have the slide. I can speak, no issue. Okay,
can mute कर दी.
हेलो।
किसी ने माइक बीच में मत रखिए प्लीज, ये सब आपके लिए हो रहा है। तो अगर आपको अच्छे से आना है आइएगा, नहीं आना है तो कोई बात नहीं, लेकिन अपना माइक म्यूट रखिए और दूसरों को मतलब पढ़ने दीजिएगा, है ना। चलिए मैडम, सॉरी टू डिस्टर्ब, बट
नहीं
किसी का
नहीं,
माइक
नथिंग
ऑन।
टू बी सॉरी सर, ऐसा नहीं सर, इतना बड़ा प्लेटफॉर्म, इतने लोग हैं सर, ऐसा नहीं हो जाता है। So I have quoted it from PISA, how PISA has defined it. A competence is more than just knowledge and skills. It involves the ability to meet complex demands by drawing upon and mobilizing psychological resources. What are the psychological resources? Including skills and attitude. यानी मैंने पहले ही कहा, attitude होना चाहिए to handle the situation. That positive attitude, that thoughtfulness, that presence of mind all together enables you to apply your the knowledge you have learned, gained. You can implement that knowledge through your skill when you have an attitude. For example, even the ability to communicate effectively is a competency. Even you are able to communicate effectively, you may not be able to. Suppose when you talk of language, why listening and speaking are given as a competency, that you may not have the ability to write, because but if your ability to speak and express, then we can say that you are competent in speaking. May not be, you don't have that entire command over language, but we can say that the person is competent in speaking. So this is the definition quoted by PISA. तो जितने भी definitions इतना तो आपको समझ में आ गया होगा, that when you have knowledge and you want to means want to apply the knowledge you have gained, when you want to apply that skill in a certain situation, whatever situation you come across in life, and you have the attitude to handle that situation or apply that skill, then you can be called as competent. Next one, sir. Now, competency-based learning from a learner's perspective. Competency-based learning allows us to hold learning constant and let time vary. Keep it in mind, learning constant and let time vary. जरूरी नहीं कि सारे बच्चे एक ही साथ सब कुछ सीख जाएंगे, इसीलिए जो मैंने पहले ही कहा, भले प्राइमरी में इम्प्लीमेंटेड है, बट इट नॉट इम्प्लीमेंटेड इन ट्रू स्पिरिट। हम वही करते हैं, एक जैसा क्वेश्चन बनाते हैं, उसमें से खाने अलग अलग बना देते हैं कि ये इस कॉम्पिटेंस, ये ऑब्जर्वेशन का क्वेश्चन है, तो ये आइडेंटिफिकेशन का क्वेश्चन है, तो ये डिस्कवरी ऑफ फैक्ट्स है, बट दैट इज नॉट द थिंग. द थिंग इज वी मस्ट गिव that ample opportunity or time to the child. Learning is constant, उसको तो उतना सीखना है, चाहे वो कितना टाइम, and it varies from child to child. Learning should be self-paced. तो एक्चुअली जो CPE या CBL, हाँ, इंडियन पर्सपेक्टिव में कितना एप्लीकेबल होगा, कि कैसे गाइडलाइन आता है नेक्स्ट करिकुलम फ्रेमवर्क का, और दैट इज अ डिफरेंट थिंग, बट एक्चुअली CBE या CBL बोलता है लर्निंग शुड बी सेल्फ पेस्ड. बच्चा जितने टाइम लेता है कोई कॉम्पिटेंसी डेवलप करने के लिए, दैट मच टाइम नीड टू बी प्रोवाइडेड टू दैट चाइल्ड. नेक्स्ट स्लाइड. It is concerned chiefly with the student's progression through curriculum at their own pace, depth, etc. बच्चे अपने पेस से अब जितना डेप्थ को डेवलप कर सकता है वो आजादी उसको मिलना चाहिए. As competencies are proven, students continue to progress. Suppose I will take again example, because as it is not competencies are not decided in secondary education till now. So I will take the example of primary only. जैसा मैथ्स का ही ले लेते हैं, मैथ्स के जो डिफरेंट competencies है, that is knowledge divided into understanding, knowledge and understanding that basic concept, and then ability in computation, then problem solving ability. तो जैसे बच्चे का नॉलेज अगर डेवलप कर जाता है, वो बेसिक कंसेप्ट समझने लगता है, when that competency of a child is strengthened, then the child can progress in the next competency. All competencies cannot go hand in hand. if बच्चे का अगर इंटेलेक्चुअल इम्पेयरमेंट है, खास करके जिन बच्चों का है, या फिर एवरेज बच्चे भी है, अगर स्लो लर्नर भी नहीं है, वी कैन नॉट एक्सपेक्ट दैट ऑल कॉम्पिटेंसी कैन डेवलप hand in hand for every children. When the knowledge part, that is understanding of basic concept, is clear, then the child can move into ability in computation. So as competencies are proven, students continue to progress. Next slide, sir. Learners build confidence as they succeed in mastering specific competencies. जब एक competencies बच्चा वो कर लेता है, capture कर लेता है, then he or she develops that confidence. Yes, I can move on to the next one now. Training time is used more efficiently and effectively as the trainer is a facilitator. Trainer teacher जो भी शब्द अब use करे, learning as opposed to a provider of information. So we should not be merely the provider of information. Rather बच्चों में वो इनकलकेट करना है कि बच्चा अपना सेल्फ लर्निंग डेवलप करे, अपना लर्निंग स्किल्स डेवलप करे and is able to master any at least one competency at a time. Next slide, sir. Students progress through the curriculum by demonstrating their competence in a variety of skill and knowledge areas. Already I have discussed this same point. Students demonstrate competence in showing the ability to do something, to put knowledge and principles into practice. जो भी आप पढ़ा रहे हैं, अगर बच्चे उसको किसी सिचुएशन में अप्लाई कर पाता है, that is the reason आजकल एप्लीकेशन बेस्ड क्वेश्चन पे ही इतना स्ट्रेस दिया जा रहा है. Right from class 3. बोर्ड में तो कब से शुरू हो गया है. Merely rote memory is not going to help child. Merely having knowledge is not going to help a child. So जो भी हम करवा रहे हैं, the child should be able to apply in a situation. Then only you can say the child has mastered the certain competency. After completing all examinations, students are required to apply the course content in his or her वर्क सेटिंग. आगे चल के बच्चा जो भी बनेगा, जो भी नॉलेज हम स्कूल में दे रहे हैं, द चाइल्ड शुड बी एबल टू अप्लाई दैट इन हिज वर्क फील्ड. देन ओनली वी कैन से दैट द एजुकेशन सिस्टम इज सक्सेसफुल. नेक्स्ट सर. Attributes of CBE or CBL, whatever. Understand how learners learn. बार बार यही बोला जाता है. It not one size fits all. Learners हमारे different learning styles के होते हैं. उनके लर्निंग पेस अलग होता है. उनका क्या बोलते हैं, मल्टीपल इंटेलिजेंस, डिफरेंट इंटेलिजेंस को बिलोंग करते हैं. एकेडमिक इंटेलिजेंस सबका एक जैसा नहीं होता है. सो वी एज ए टीचर मस्ट अंडरस्टैंड हाउ लर्नर्स लर्न. मैच द प्रिंसिपल्स ऑफ लर्निंग एंड टीचिंग. दिस लाइन इज वेरी मच इम्पोर्टेंट. when हमारा जो टीचिंग और बच्चे का लर्निंग प्रिंसिपल दोनों मैच नहीं करता है, then only learning gap और learning impediment is created. अभी हम बोलते हैं कि कोविड के चलते बच्चे स्कूल नहीं आए, ऑनलाइन क्लासेस हुए, ह्यूज लर्निंग गैप इज क्रिएटेड. यस, दिस इज अ मेजर रीजन. लेकिन लर्निंग गैप क्रिएट होने में कहीं ना कहीं हम भी रिस्पॉन्सिबल है, बिकॉज वी डोंट अंडरस्टैंड हाउ द चाइल्ड वांट्स टू लर्न. हमारे पास भी वी आर हैविंग आवर लिमिटेशंस. We have class size of 50 or 60 like that बच्चे होते हैं, तो किसी किसी स्कूल में it becomes difficult for us. But again, yes, if the learning and teaching principles do not match, then learning gap is there. Facilitate rather than control learning. It's not that वो आता है, कंस्ट्रक्टिविज्म में भी आता है. आप जब बिहेवियरिज्म से डेविएट करेंगे तो ये सब बातें बार बार आएंगे. Facilitate rather than control learning. We are not here to control the learning of a child. कितना पढ़ेगा, कितने समय में पढ़ेगा, नहीं. We have to facilitate that the child should take the responsibility of learning. Model humility, critical thinking, respect, competence, and caring at all time. All time we should take care of this. The behavior of the child, the critical thinking of the child, the respect for the subject, the learner, the co-learners, everyone. Support acquisition of knowledge, skills and behavior in all learning domains. Not only knowledge skill भी develop करे, behavior भी develop करे, वो सारा बच्चे इकट्ठे gain करे in all three domains of cognitive, psychomotor and affective. This is the aim of or attributes of CBE. Next slide, sir. Promote and expect learners accountability for learning. Constructivism में भी यही बोला गया है, that the NCF में भी बोला गया है, the child NCF 2005 में, that the child should take the responsibility of his or her own learning. जब तक बच्चा ये नहीं समझता है कि he or she has to take the learning, अपने पढ़ाई के लिए खुद accountable है. Neither parents nor teachers. KBS accountable हमें बना देता बात है. But until unless students understand that he or she is accountable for the learning, तब तक वो responsibility नहीं लेना सीखता, ना ही वो competent बन सकता है. Provide timely, specific feedback on learner progress, beginning with learner self-assessment. बहुत जरूरी है. The child identifies where I'm lagging behind. Then only the child can progress. Individualize learning experiences according to needs. Within this scenario only we have to try that how can we individualize that. We cannot expect all children to learn in the same way. Expect increasing complexity of performance as the learner progress throughout the program. धीरे धीरे the complexity develops with the time. We cannot expect that the entry level भी बच्चा सब कुछ adopt कर लेगा. Next slide, sir. Then competencies are carefully selected. Competencies must be selected carefully कि हम actually क्या किस area में बच्चे को competent बनाना चाहते हैं. I hope that the next guide, the curriculum वो framework जो आ रहा है curriculum का, this will be carrying all this. Supporting theory integrated with skill or practice. And किस तरह से हम skill और practice को कैसे integrate कर सकते with our theoretical knowledge जो implement करते हैं. That also we should have a clear guidelines, or at least we should try to. But whatever theoretically we are trying to implement in that way, the child we should integrate to the skill and practice. Essential knowledge is learned to support the performance of skills. Knowledge हम क्यों gain करते हैं ताकि हम we can perform with the skill. Methods of instruction involve mastery learning. That is, all student can master the required knowledge or skill. इतने भी कॉम्पिटेंसी से धीरे 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 बच्चा को हर कॉम्पिटेंसी में मास्टर master all the competence. Sufficient time and appropriate teaching methods to be used, and all these are not possible in less time. इसीलिए curriculum burden of curriculum or load of curriculum is going to be eased as suggested by in NEP 2020, ताकि बहुत ज्यादा अगर करिकुलम का बर्डन ना हो, then only we can make them competent or develop skills and attitude. Next slide, sir. Students' knowledge and skills are assessed as they enter the class. कोई भी entry level में हमें उनका knowledge and skills assess करना चाहिए, so that we can take up when the child is lagging behind. Flexible teaching methodologies include large group activities, small group activities, and individual study. We all know that these are the essential components of CBE. जरूरत पड़े तो बच्चे को individual learning में ही support करना है, because those who are solo learners, they cannot learning style जो 9 तरह के होते हैं उसमें एक solo learner भी होते हैं, they cannot adjust with any kind of group. In that case, individual learning हमें support करना है. A variety of support material which would help to develop the skill being mastered is used. That is used. We are having n number of resources now. Satisfactory completion of syllabus or successful transaction of lesson is based on achievement of all specified competencies. Again, I'm coming back to the example of primary as it is defined in primary. So I can say that the child is competent in language when all 6 competencies जो language हम deal करते हैं, like reading comprehension and text-based knowledge, then grammar, speaking, listening, handwriting. Speaking, listening is in subject enrichment, but they are part of competency. Handwriting, then creative writing. जब सारे में बच्चे master कर ले, then we can one by one, then we can say that the child is competent now. Next slide, sir. More training time is devoted to working with students. More time should be devoted in working practically with the student, not merely giving lecture. Individual and small group as opposed to presenting lectures. Yes, this is वही मैं बोल रही थी कि पहले जो chalk and talk या lecture method से बाहर निकल के छोटे छोटे groups में बच्चों के साथ काम करना. We should devote time for that for CPE and CPA. More training time is devoted to evaluating each participant's ability to perform. Each participant. That is the reason जो आया हुआ है आप देखिएगा वो चाहे 1-2 में CC record हो, आगे चल के learners diary, जहाँ भी we record actually what the child is achieving, the individual child is achieving. Next, sir. Competency-based education programs built from the idea that it is more important to focus on outcomes what the students know and can do than on inputs like how the student learns it, where the student learns it, or how long the student takes to learn. ये मैटर नहीं करता बच्चा कहाँ से पढ़ रहा है, चाहे आप उसको समझाए, चाहे कंस्ट्रक्टिविज्म के जरिए अपना नॉलेज कंस्ट्रक्ट करे, लर्न फ्रॉम हिज एनवायरनमेंट, ओके, एंड कितना टाइम उसको लगता है वो मैटर नहीं करता है. अल्टीमेटली एट द एंड ऑफ ए कोर्स, we can say the end of each class, we can say the end of the schooling, what the child has learned. This break from inputs means that CBE programs are free to explore new ways to help. तो CBE जब आया ये बोला गया teacher should have the autonomy to help. No methodology should be fixed. Students learn a new dimension of what constitutes a course. A course means वो किस तरह, its course is not only the syllabus given laid down for how many years. At the end of that course, बच्चा कितना सीख रहा है, that matters, and teacher should have the autonomy also. No, a methodology should be forced upon the teacher. Next, sir. Pedagogical consideration in competency-based education. How competency-based education? We all know meaningful content. This content need to be meaningful. क्योंकि अगर हम competency select करते, we should have a very limited competency selected at school level, जिसमें बच्चों competent बना सके. Content भी meaningful होना चाहिए. It should not be from nowhere जिससे बच्चा relate ना कर सके real life में, या बहुत ज़्यादा नहीं होना चाहिए. And constructive learning, cooperative और interactive learning, interacting with peers and teachers, discovery learning क्योंकि it develops the self pace. Discovery learning क्या होता है, बच्चा खुद pace develop कुछ learning का responsibility the child can take. Reflective learning, yes, the learner should be taught to look back and identify where he or she has gone wrong or where he or she has done right. So regular self assessment बहुत जरूरी है in CBE, and of course personal learning. The child should take the responsibility of learning. Next, sir. Now come the role of a teacher. How should a teacher should behave or act for to develop CBE? Planning and organizing very much needed. Without planning and organizing, no program can be successful. Adaptability. These are the general all these qualities the teacher should have. To adapt to the situation. If pedagogical approaches are changing, if syllabus is changing, we have to adapt to it. Problem solving and judgment. Yes, every teacher is apt in that. Every teacher is apt in that, I believe. Resilience. Every teacher has that. High energy level very much required, because we are no more the sage by the stage. We are no more sage on the stage. Motivate and maximize performance. Yes, we must motivate the children to maximize their performance. There should be integrity, initiative and innovation, and communication. These are the quality every teacher has and should enhance it further, not only for CBE, whatever it is. The next, sir, pros and cons of CBE. How good or bad it depends on its implementation. हम अगर implement successfully कर पाए, then only it will be successful. Then a deep and diverse support system. To implement this, we should have that support system. Manageable learning outcome. Not too many learning outcome, too many competencies should not be forced on us. The learning outcome should be manageable or accessible to all learners. ऐसे common learning outcome होना चाहिए. Basic जैसे minimum level of learning भी अब बोले, that everyone has that should access. Time spent for learning. कितना time हम learning में involve कर पा रहे बच्चे को. वो चाहे self learning हो, वो चाहे group learning हो, collaborative learning या teacher oriented learning. Next one, sir. Its strength lies in its flexibility, as learners are able to move at their own pace. Yes. Flexibility. If we should give the time to the child to aid competency, let the child develop the listening and speaking skill, then we can go for reading a skill in a language. So we should give that flexibility. This supports students with diverse knowledge, backgrounds, literacy levels, and other related aptitudes. We all know they come from different backgrounds, they have different level of learning, and literacy level भी लोग अलग-अलग होता है. All these things should be taken in consideration. And CB gives the opportunity to take it in consideration. Next slide, sir. Academic model versus CBL model. Before CBL or CBE came, The model used academic model. We had subject boundaries. Now think of the specified outcomes, not the subject. We have already crossed the subject boundary and we have made learning integrated. norm reference अभी criteria का reference है norms का नहीं. Recorded grades. आप competency based learning में competency model में no failure no grades. Ultimately competency achieve कर सकता है कि नहीं. In Finland they have only one exam at the end of that is in class 10. Okay, we are having हम साल में इतने बार एग्जाम लेते हैं, so there is no failure no grade. Ultimately बच्चा competent हो रहा है कि नहीं, at the end of the course जब स्कूल वो छोड़ रहा है, स्कूल लिविंग के बाद वो देखा जाता है. एकेडमिक मॉडल में असेसमेंट एट वन टाइम एंड प्लेस, यानी कि आप बिठा के रूम में एग्जाम लेते हैं, दैट इज. बट हियर असेसमेंट एनी टाइम इंडिपेंडेंट ऑफ प्लेस. प्लेस मैटर नहीं करता है, हम ये देखते हैं. दैट इज वे वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट मल्टीपल असेसमेंट, दैट इज सीबीएल. कहीं भी हम बच्चों को असेस कर सकते हैं. एकेडमिक मॉडल में सीक्रेट असेसमेंट, आप क्वेश्चन बना रहे हैं, बच्चे को नहीं पता, आपने उसको असेस कर लिया. ओपन असेसमेंट, बच्चे को पता है जो अपने आप को असेस कर रहा है, उसको पता है कि उसके दोस्त उसको असेस कर, दैट इज ओपन असेसमेंट. यू आस्क द चाइल्ड टू असेस हिमसेल्फ और हरसेल्फ. नेक्स्ट वन सर. Now this one, weaknesses are compensated by strength. That means जब हम एक क्वेश्चन पेपर बनाते हैं, मान लीजिए आज भी वही हो रहा है, आज भी कॉम्पिटेंसी के नाम पे प्राइमरी में हमारे हम वही करते हैं. अगर बच्चा एक कॉम्पिटेंसी में वीक है, मान लीजिए कुछ नहीं लिखा, हैंडराइटिंग में उसको हमने 5 में से 4 दे दिया, तो 30 में से थोड़ा रीडिंग कॉम्प्रिहेंशन, थोड़ा हैंडराइटिंग दे करके बच्चे को नंबर मिल जाए तब खुश हो जाते. नो, देयर व्हाट वी आर डूइंग, वीकनेसेस आर कंपेंसेटेड बाय स्ट्रेंथ. कुछ हमारा वीक एरिया है, कुछ हमारा स्ट्रेंथ है, तो चलो इन टोटलिटी में पेपर में नंबर आ गया, तो दैट मींस वीकनेस इज कंपेंसेटेड. बट व्हाट सीबीई और सीबीएल सेज, नो कंपेंसेशन, ऑल आउटकम मस्ट बी. कोई कंपेंसेशन नहीं, ईच competency should be taken care of. That is why competency based learning is introduced in KVS, but we are going the wrong way. We teachers, they handling primary section, we are going in the wrong. Teaching is often theoretical or classroom based. Teaching is performance based. होता already we are shifting towards it. हम बच्चे का performance देखते हैं अभी, और आने दीजिए और भी guidelines. All other co-curricular activities will be taken in consideration, not only theoretical classroom. Emphasis on knowledge recall. Whatever the child learns, the child magnified, wrote and comes and put in the paper. So where there only knowledge recall, हम knowledge बच्चा कितना डेवलप किया उसका देखते हैं, उसका एप्लीकेशन स्किल हम नहीं देखते हैं. बट नाउ एम्फेसिस ऑन ऑब्जर्वेबल परफॉर्मेंस. जो परफॉर्मेंस वो कर रहा है, जो हमें दिख रहा है, हमें उसी पे बच्चे को एसेस करना है. दैट इज कॉम्पिटेंसी बेस्ड एजुकेशन. दैट इज ऑल अबाउट कॉम्पिटेंसी बेस्ड एजुकेशन ऑन माय बिहाफ, माय अंडरस्टैंडिंग. एंड उस दिन जैसे बात आई थी कि क्वेश्चंस कैसे कैसे वो क्वेश्चंस होना चाहिए, तो आप लोग बोलिए, उसके बाद देन ऑनली आई कैन डिस्कस ऑन इट कि कैसे क्वेश्चंस होना चाहिए.
हेलो मैडम.
यस सर.
मैडम आप कॉम्पिटेंसी बेस्ड जो बताया वो कंस्ट्रक्टिविज्म में क्या डिफरेंस है?
Constructivism is a kind that is constructivism is giving child autonomy to construct